Hi guys, it is Lena, and I had some requests off my TikTok live to show you guys how to do cardstock freshie molds for molds that are just for cardstock and not paintable also. This is great for images that are very detailed, or just if you don't like to paint and you just want to do cardstock molds. 99% of the molds I sell in my store are cardstock molds, so I love them. They're where my passion lies. I like that they look complete, they look professional, so I'm going to show you how to do that. A few things you need to create, if you're new here, to create freshie mold housings is you need a 3D printer, of course. I suggest Bamboo. They are amazing, they're user friendly, they're good price. You can use any 3D printer you have, that's just what I recommend. You also need filament. I use Sunlu brand about 99% of the time because it's $12.99 a roll, super cheap, super smooth, works amazing. It's just what I use. You can use any brand you want, that's just the ones that I do. In this video, if I mention anything or say I don't do it that way, that doesn't mean businesses that do these things are wrong. There is many businesses out there that do things totally different than me. They are wonderful companies. So I'm just showing you how I do it and what works for me. When I was learning how to make mold housings, most people didn't want to tell me. They said it was trade secret and there was too many of us and it was going to flood the market. So I had to teach myself. There's absolutely room for everybody. You just have to do different things. Don't copy everybody. You want to branch out, do your own thing, make your company a little different than everybody. So I will tell you the dimensions to use to make them like mine. I have all 5-star reviews on my molds, so I know that these numbers work. People say they bake beautifully, so I will let you know which numbers I use to make molds like mine. You don't have to use them. I'm just trying to save you time and save you guesswork. So other things that you need is I use Silhouette Studio Business Edition. It is $49.99 to $100. It's a one-time fee, and you can get it from swingdesign.com or Silhouette. You don't have to use a Silhouette machine to use this program. I do not, but it does everything. You can design in here. There's so much this program does, and you can save as an SVG. And I know some people are going to say, well, I can use another program. I can use Inkscape. If you can save into Inkscape and you're comfortable using that, then by all means, use a different program than I do if you want to. I'm just showing you what I use, what works for me. So I just go from there. I also use Tinkercad, which is a free online program. And I use it because other programs like Fusion 360 did not work with my cheap laptop. I have a $250 laptop, and Fusion said it needed a better graphics card than my computer has. I'm a cheap girl, so I want what is cheap, what is free, what works, and this works for me. So I am going to get into it. What you want to do is, when you're making a cardstock mold, you want to start with an image that you want. I designed this image that looks like my dog. And then, I know these floaty ones are popular. See, there's lots of floaty molds out there. I'm just making a little different. I wanted the dog to look like my dog, so a little different, but yet still what's popular right now. If that makes sense. So you're going to open up your image into Silhouette. And if it doesn't have an outline around it, see how it's just that straw? When you went to cut this cardstock, it would be difficult for your cutting machine to cut around that. So the first thing you want to do is put a background on it. Now, if it's already ready, if it's already like this, where it's got the white and it's a super simple image to cut, you don't need to worry about that. But most of the time, you're going to want to put a backdrop on it. So click your image and then go over here on the right-hand side and click this star. I already had it open because I was playing with this. But you're going to click this star, and the silhouette's awesome because if you just hover over it, it tells you what it does. So it's open the offset panel, and then hit offset. And I don't know if you can see that, but it put a little red line around it. I'm going to change the color over here on the left so you can see it. See how that put that white? And then you can use this slider over here to slide it up and down to see how much of a border you want. Some people really want a big one. Some people want small. I like about there. As long as the white around it is connecting, then it's pretty good. Then you can, I forgot a step. Before you do this white outline, oh wait, I'm sorry. You do want to do this white outline. And then you are going to drag the image off. Click on this, see those holes there? You want those filled in. So you're going to right click on it, hit release compound path, and then right click it again and hit weld. And that just fills those in so you won't have those holes. And then drag this back over. You can either try to like manually center it, which usually that's not an issue, but if you want, you can select them both. And then up here there's a little center button. Click it and it'll center them. And then you're going to select them both just by dragging, right click and hit group. A very important part of doing cardstock molds, if you're planning on selling them, is to make sure you're getting the most money that you can from selling. So you want to make sure that your cardstock image is sized so you can get 4 on a piece of paper, if that matters to you. If it don't, you can size them so they're this big and print 2 on a page. I like to print 4. So what I'll do is I'll size this to whatever size that I want the final one, and so that 4 will fit on my page to cut. Hopefully that makes sense. I can show you one that I cut. This is one that for an order I'm doing right now. So I use a Cricut to cut my images. So see how there's 4 on there? So I'm going to size my image so 4 fit on there. So whatever size you choose is what you're going to size it at. Oops. Let's do this one 4 inches. If you use a silhouette machine, then you would just, duplicate this, put it on there 4 times and cut. But most people forget that part until after they build their mold housing. I did one when I first started. It's a cow with a pumpkin. I still offer it. And I could only fit 3 on a sheet, and I sold so many of them and wasted so much paper. So I rebuilt the whole mold so 4 fit on a sheet. And it was just like a tiny bit smaller, and it fit 4 on there. So then once you get it sized the way you want, you're going to save it. File, save as, save to hard drive. And I create a folder on my desktop of what I wanted to call this. And that's to keep all the pieces together. So I'm going to call this Ween Float. And then this image is your cardstock. So you could call it cardstock. You could call it whatever you want. It's just to help you remember what it is. And I save it as a PNG. So that's the hardest part of this whole thing, is just getting your image the way you want it for your cardstock. I know it sounds hard. It's super simple once you learn. Some images you'll start out and they'll be fine. You won't have to add a white background. So it's not as hard as it seems. Once you get this the size that you want, now you're going to start building your mold around it. So what you do is you hit this offset button again. And this number over here is always the same. It is 0.015 or 0.020. Totally up to you which one you choose. It just makes the difference of how much beads you see around your mold. Some people like to do their beads a different color, so it makes a definite border. Some people like when they use cardstock for it to hide the beads completely. So it's totally up to you which number you use, but I always use 0.015 to 0.020. This one I'm doing 15. So let me change that a color so you can actually see it on the screen. which it's so tiny you probably won't be able to see it. Once you do that, you can just drag him off and delete him. You're done using him. Now you're going to save this. File, save as, save to hard drive. And I name this the outline because it's the outline of my image. And you're going to want to save it as an SVG. Anything that is made, that you're making your mold with, is an SVG. Your colored image is a PNG. So you hit OK. Now you only have one more step in here. Now you're going to hit offset again. And this is always the same number for me over here. It is 0.22. See that red line? Let me change it to color so you can see it. And that is going to be this channel right here, which is also going to be your mold wall. And that's why I always do the same numbers. 0.22 is perfect thickness for molds. It makes them where they're flexible, but they're not flimsy flexible, if that makes sense. So once you're done with that, you drag off your last layer, you're done with it, delete. And now you're going to save this one. File, save as, save to hard drive. I call this the mold because it makes the mold walls. Make sure you hit SVG and hit OK. And now you're done in Silhouette. So super easy. You just built your pieces. Now you're going to go into Tinkercad. And you're going to hit create. It'll have you create a account, and then it'll save all your designs. So create 3D. Once you open this, I suggest changing the name up here in Tinkercad to whatever your design is going to be. This is floating ween. Just because if you don't, Tinkercad leaves it a really funky name, and I have discovered going back, a lot of times if I don't rename them, later when I go back, like a year later, the file will be blank. So make sure you change the name. If you don't, it'll save it as a weird name. You'll have it for a while, but then if you go to search like a year later, it could be gone unless you rename it. So I don't know the reason for that. I just know you want to rename them. So once you're in here, you're going to go to import, choose a file, find your folder on your desktop, wherever you saved it. I do this too much and I forgot what I named him. Okay, so there he is. This is why you got to name stuff, because I lose everything. And now you're going to go in reverse order. So our last step was mold and silhouette. Now I'm going to start with mold here. And sometimes this takes a while, depends on your internet speed. How many people are using Tinkercad. Sometimes it's super fast, sometimes it takes a few minutes. And then I just click on it and drag it over to the middle so I can see what I'm working with. And then go over to import, choose a file, and then you're going to choose the other one, which was your outline. And you're going to drag that over to the middle. And this is like any other computer program. If you click over and then just drag your mouse while holding it down, holding your left mouse button, it'll select both of them. So if you go up here and hit align, then you can hit this dot. That aligns it down at the bottom. And over here, that aligns it in the center. You do not need to worry about any of these dots when you're building molds. Just this one and this one. So now you're centered. So now and once you see how I do this, you can change the orders if you want. This is just the easiest way for me to show you how you're building it. So it's the easiest for me. if you hit your first layer down there, and it'll show you, see how you're clicked on the gray, but if you go, I don't know which one I'm clicked on since it put a box over here, it'll show you that you're on the gray. So then I go over, and over here, these numbers are always the same if you want to write them down. This is 0.099. And sometimes it'll take a second for it to drop, but you'll see it. And this is always 14 and above. I always use 14. You can go higher if you want. It just makes everything on your mold housing smooth. If you forget to do that, sometimes there'll be like little lines underneath where the layers are. So 14 above makes everything smooth, so there's no gaps. So those numbers are always the same. And then I'm going to make sure I'm still selected on the gray once I do that. And I'm going to go over here on this side and hit duplicate. And you'll see the screen will flash, but nothing will happen. That's just because it just duplicated that layer. Now it's wondering what you want to do with it. So over here, if you do this drop down menu and hit outer line, it's going to put an outer line around that. So this just became, that outer line just became your mold wall for your housing. These numbers are always the same. Your height is going to be 1.2, quality 14, and line width is the same as the other one, 0.099. And now you have your mold wall. So all you have to do is raise this one up. This is always the same. This is what your cardstock sits on. It's 1 inch. And then your quality is 14 or above. I always do 14. All my numbers always stay the same, so it works for me. And then once you're done with that, you just right or left click your mouse, select it all, and then hit this button up here that says group. Sometimes this will take a minute, sometimes it's super fast. Once it all changes to the same color, your housing is done. You can change colors up here if you want. But it's done. So then all you'd have to do is go up to export, hit STL, and it's going to save it into your computer for your slicer. I can open my slicer. I got my printers going, so I can open my slicer and show you what it looks like. So that's what it looks like on your slicer. This is for my Bamboo A1 Mini. This is what it would look like on my A1. But that's it. So then you would just pour your mold, cut your cardstocks, and you're ready to go. I hope that helps. I will be live, as always, 2 times a week on TikTok as much as I can. If you have questions, or if you have questions on this video, please find me on TikTok or Facebook. You can ask me here, but I don't check YouTube much, so feel free to ask me there, and I'm more likely to get to your question than I am on here because I never check it. But I hope that helps, and I will see you over there.